So there's three risks. There's a money risk, there's a time risk, and there's an energy risk. The money risk is the least important. People are like, oh my God, if I buy this then I'll lose money. And marketers think, I got to make them feel like I'm not going to lose money. So money's there, but it's not that important. Time is more important because if I buy a $1 product, but I spend 100 hours on it, that's a worse investment than if I buy a $10,000 product and I spend 1 minute on it and I get a result. The risk of time to buy your product and implement it is a more serious concern. That's the mistake every marketer I know ever makes.
Welcome to another episode of Special Ops. We are super excited today. Travis and I are attending Driven Mastermind, a mastermind that we belong to for a long time now. We love dearly. We're here in Mexico and we are filming some episodes and calling them the Driven Diaries. We're kicking that off with the $1 million webinar man himself, Jason Fladlien. Jason, I am stoked and thank you so much. Like, you have been such a phenomenal resource to Travis and I, and we're just over the moon to have you today. You gave a talk at Driven some time ago about risk reversal, and like that lit up my whole soul. So I would love for you just to talk about what you presented on, what it means to you, and how you make that part of operations sexy to marketers.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like, I don't differentiate really between operations and sales. It's like, I only like the top half of my baby. I don't like the left side.
Love that.
It's only the right eye of the baby that I like. You love the whole baby. And so with business, operations and marketing should be connected to each other. If you can't fulfill upon it, you should not sell it. And the better you can fulfill upon it, the easier the thing is to sell. I mean, this seems to make sense, but a lot of people miss that point because they think marketing is we get people excited if we sell them and then that's the end of the story. And then whatever happens after that, whatever. They don't even think that far ahead. What I love about risk reversal as a marketing strategy is if you grab 100 pitches selling the same product, essentially like this brand A has their version, brand B has their version all the way to brand Z, they all emphasize the gain. You buy this product and this positive thing will happen to you. And they ignore the risk that anybody would take to purchase the product and use the product. So there's three risks. There's a money risk, there's a time risk, and there's an energy risk. The money risk is the least important. So people are like, oh my God, if I buy this then I'll lose money. And marketers think, I got to make them feel like I'm not going to lose money. They emphasize any of risk reduction is on the money side, but money is the most easily replaceable thing. And if they ain't going to spend it with you, they're going to like buy some stupid thing that they forget they buy the next day, right? Yes. They're like, oh yeah, I got a Candy Crush bonus. Here's $5. And then they don't even remember ever spending it. So money's there, but it's not that important. Time is more important because if I buy a $1 product, but I spend 100 hours on it, that's a worse investment than if I buy a $10,000 product and I spend 1 minute on it and I get a result. And so people really, the risk of time to buy your product and implement it is a more serious concern. Time isn't equal. So if I spend 10 minutes on a spreadsheet, I want to kill myself. But if I spend 1 million hours talking about persuasion, I'm just getting warmed up, like bring it on. So it's the energy that's the biggest risk. And the energy for a lot of people buying a lot of products is, what if this doesn't work? What do people think about me if I fail? What do I think about myself if I fail? What if I try this and then I quit? Am I a quitter? And the energetic risk is the most important risk in any offer. So all these brands, they go out there and sell this product. They talk about all the benefits. They ignore the risk as if they don't exist, or they barely address them. Instead, when we do selling, we say, how do we minimize the risk as much as possible? We're willing to even cap the upside. So instead of, hey, this thing could do all these things, it can only do this one thing, but it's almost 100% certain that if you do this, you'll get that result. So we can take away so much of the upside, but we remove even more of the downside and we sell more. And that's where I focus on. The strategy, though, as you know, if we can't support that, if I make the claim that we're going to do A, B, and C for you to reduce that risk, because we have to take on their risk for them. If we can't operationally support that, we're screwed.
When you say take on the risk, and you're also talking about like changing or transforming the energy, is that one of the ways that you do that, or what does that look like specifically?
Yeah, so on a micro level, a close that I'll use is like, if I have to pick you up kicking, dragging, and screaming and carry you across the finish line on my shoulder, then damn it, I will do that, because you losing upsets me more than it upsets you. So I'm not going to let you have that happen,
good.
right?
That's so good.
Yeah, it's a great close. It works even better if you can actually fulfill on it. So I teach this to clients and they think, oh, if I just mimic the words, that's good enough. And it's good enough point of sale, right? But it's not good enough on the fulfillment.
A lot of people forget that the sales process includes delivery. It's the sales to delivery process.
100%. And so it's like, how do we make good on that promise then? What are the actual fulfillables that would be the equivalent up to picking them up? Are we going to have somebody that's tracking their progress? And then are we going to have them put pressure on them when they're falling behind? Are we going to reward them when they're getting ahead, right? Are we going to bring in coaches? So one of the things that we do for risk reduction is this, like if you're selling an offer where a coach would help enhance that offer, then the user would have to go and find a coach and then pay the coach. That's risky. So if you can say, I'm going to bring the coach to you and have the coach, I'm going to hand select the coach and give you the coach, that's less risky. But the problem with that is good coaching is expensive. Bad coaching is even more expensive, by the way. It's not in the price you pay, it's in the advice you get.
Right. The bad advice you could get.
How do we give them a good coach that we pay for without eating our margins apart? And one of the ways that we do this is with conditional coaching. So we'll say, we're going to give you 6 coaching sessions with a coach that's $300 an hour. So if you get all 6 sessions, that's $1,800, and we'll give you $1,800 worth of coaching, retail value on a $500 product. I mean, this is a killer offer, right? Now, if they fulfilled on all of those coaching sessions, I would go broke. So I say, how do I create conditions that they meet condition A, unlock the first coaching program, right? Knowing full well through attrition that not everybody's going to do it. That's not my problem, by the way. It's not my problem if I cook you the meal and you choose not to eat it, right? Like I can only do so much, and anybody in marketing, you can only do so much. And so knowing the fact that only a certain amount of your clients are going to implement, you can make a calculated risk to say, okay, I can essentially underwrite this coaching. So the winners get the most coaching. They get the best deal. And the losers finance that, which is brilliant.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
But they have to meet a certain level first before they unlock the coaching. Right. And then I'd be happy if they can get all of the coaching sessions.
Or they're the fast actors, so they're the ones who are actually going to execute on it and
100%.
Get the results anyway.
Yeah.
It's like you can't have dessert without eating your vegetables.
True. And so then on an operational side, we got to make sure the math works. Like, what's the take rate on the coaching?
Right.
Is the coaching worth it if we pay this much for the coaching? Is the coach actually fulfilling on their end? Because a good coach isn't always a good coach. He might be a good coach yesterday, and then his wife leaves him for the yoga trainer, and then he shows up and he's drunk on the next coaching session.
Specific.
Right? Like,
that might have happened before.
I mean, I have had coaches. The worst coach becomes the best coach becomes the worst coach.
Yeah.
Overnight, right?
Yeah, it happens all the time.
It's like rich dad, poor dad, same dad, only with coach instead, right? So you have to have somebody operationally supporting that, and you have to bake that into the margins when you're putting that in place. And so it's not impossible. It's very possible. You just have to measure that. And a lot of people, when they're marketing, they forget that element. They just say, okay, we'll give them this over-the-top offer and then cross our fingers, everything will go good. Or they'll say, this seems like too much to me, so I'm not even going to attempt to do that. You need a good operational person to have your back and keep you accountable, and to also excel at the thing that you are not good at. Because typically, if you're good at marketing, you're not good at ops. And if you're good at ops, you're not very good at marketing. Sometimes you can cross that bridge and work really hard at both, but almost always it's better to bring in the thing you're not good at. And then even when you don't like it, tolerate it because it will be to your best benefit. So I
kind of feel like that was a dig at me. Even when you don't like Emma, just tolerate her.
It's the necessary thing that needs to be done that's not as enjoyable to a creator. A creator gets their high by creating, and then fulfillment gets in the way of creating more.
Right.
And so you have to be aware of your own weaknesses if you're a creator, and you have to plan to prevent yourself from engaging in those weaknesses if you care about your business and your clients. And so you have to have somebody operationally, if it's not you, to hold you accountable for that. Right. And you have to acknowledge you're not going to like it, but you're going to love the results that it gives you. Yeah.
I actually appreciate that a lot about working with you, is you do have not a lot of love for the journey, but a whole lot of love for the outcome. When you create an offer, do you create the delivery of the offer and then the sales behind it first? Or do you create the sales and then we have a lot of clients that do the sales and then we have to figure out how to plug that in. And I feel like some of the things that you were saying, it sounds like if you did that opposite, it would be brilliant. So I'd love to know how you do it.
Yeah, the first 10 years we did it where we created the sales first and then fulfillment second. And I'm a slow learner. So about the 57th time that we got into problems with that,
I think you're a slow learner when it comes to ops. You're not a slow learner when it comes to sales, my friend.
I'm stubborn is the problem, right? I'm like,
that's more accurate.
I'm going to do it. Somehow I'm going to change gravity this time, And then after losing enough to gravity, I admit that gravity is a factor. And then I plan for it. So we would always make it up and come across the finish line barely in time to fulfill on the thing, but it's not an enjoyable experience, and it's hard to build and it's hard to scale. So after, doing it wrong enough times, you realize, okay, I'm going to discipline myself to do it a better way. And so now we try to do it the better way, which is, it's a 3-step process. Step number 1 is if I had a magic wand and I could give anything to the client and it cost me nothing in time and money and energy, and I could just give them the ultimate best solution ever, what would that be? Mm-hmm. And then you come up with the mega gargantuan, awesomest thing that's ever existed. And then you got that on paper. And then you're like, there is no possible way that we can fulfill on any of this stuff whatsoever. So, but if we could fulfill on it, what adjustment should we make to it? So we start here and then we go down. Most people start in reality and then at best they push it a little up. But we start way out of reality. And then when we bring it down, we get better ahas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is how we create breakthroughs. We start with the impossible and then go down. Most people start with the possible and then they just stretch it a little bit. And so we start carving it away. Well, we can't do that, but we can do this version of that. We can't do that, but we can do this version of that. And then we thread them together and then we come up with it. And then we do this next step, which is like, there's the version 1 of the offer. And then if it hits, there's the long-term version of it. And so like Prime as a membership for Amazon started off with just this much stuff. You got, 2-day free delivery if you spent over X number of dollars.
Right.
Now you just get 2-day free delivery and you get a whole video streaming and you get this and you get that and you get everything under the sun.
The bonuses.
Insane. But
they're,
that's like
they're Jason bonuses.
They are like, yeah, it's the greatest risk reversal offer ever. It's like you can spend more by not being a Prime member, idiot, right?
Right.
Or you can give me money and spend less by being a Prime member. The risk is in not buying more so than buying. Now, most people still don't buy anyway because they don't want to figure out what Prime is. And this is way back in the day. Now everybody has it, right? But the evolution, they're like, I don't want to try that thing out. I don't want to have to jump through one more hoop, even if it will save me $125 a year. So screw that. I'm just going to do it the old fashioned way. And then over a period of time, they say, okay, I'll try it that way. And then it becomes more well-known and becomes even less riskier. And then it becomes stupid not to have it. And then it's become the most valuable membership in the world. And they also increase the deliverables over time because they said, now that we have this many members, this is the value of this platform, so we can invest back into the platform. That's the mistake every marketer I know ever makes. They'll spend more money with Facebook, but they won't spend it on their own customer.
Crazy, right?
It's insane.
It's crazy. One of the things that I love about Prime, I just want to point out that I've actually studied this. I think that Prime is like one of the most brilliant concepts. And so over time, what they created is I'm not going to go to any other website and order anything because I'm going to pay shipping. I automatically am going to go look for it on Amazon because I save on Amazon. So why would I purchase anywhere else?
Right. True.
And we're indoctrinated into that.
Yep.
And they played the long game, man. They were really smart.
Yeah, and that's the brilliance of when you create your V1 of the offer. When you do that fantasy offer, like if it could be anything, what would it be? It actually gives you the path of ascension. So if we can get market share A, then we can invest this to add thing B to it. Because your goal is to have an offer nobody else can match in any market that you're in. And so we do the V1 of every offer. And we know that if it hits, then we know what we can turn it into. If it misses, we can unplug as fast as possible. So we say, this didn't work, lesson learned, we're not out too much, we failed small, we can try it again, or we can move on to the next thing. And it only takes one really killer offer to completely revolutionize a whole business. And so we're trying ourselves to reduce risk for the customer, and then only bet on the winner. So we take the ultimate version, we trim it down to what's reality for us today, which is better than most people's, and then we know where it could go if it does hit.
And incremental steps along the way to get there.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
That's so smart. And I have a question. Does that keep you intrigued in the offer? Because, most marketers, they're like, okay,
yeah,
I'm bored now. What's next?
Next.
And so because you've created an ascension plan, you do you gamify it in your mind? Does it keep you coming back for more?
This is a great question. Yeah. So my business model is fundamentally partnering with really good, awesome brands who have the ingredients of great offers. And so I get to do consulting with them that typically sometimes leads to strategic partnerships. So I can be the puppeteer behind the scenes, pulling the strings. So by the time my ADHD wears off and I want to move on to the next thing, I've installed it into the company so they can take it and run it. So I can simultaneously be in multiple businesses doing this thing that I love, but not doing it in a way that's harmful and destructive. So that's how I solve for that. Yeah.
God, that's brilliant. God, that's brilliant. I love that. That's freaking amazing. Jason, my heart is so full. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're most
really,
welcome.
thank you so much. You're one of my favorite people. I love working with you. I love hanging out with you. I love learning from you. What a dream. A few years ago, I would have never imagined that I would have a podcast that you would be a guest on.
Aw,
And
thank you.
also, I would have never imagined that I would be calling you my friend. So
I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. We
You're welcome.
appreciate you.